We are continuing our Digging Deeper Wells series, and last week we learned that 1,800 years, it's a long time, 1,800 years after a guy named Jacob, Jesus used a well that Jacob built to help change the world. And if I were Jacob hanging out in heaven and I'm like, hey, Jesus is using my well, I would have been pretty psyched that he was using my well. So John 4:6 is where we get it. It says, Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from a long walk, sat wearily beside the well about noontime. This is where the famous encounter between Jesus and the Samaritan woman, the woman at the well, happens, and it's a very significant moment in the Bible. But the single sentence that we read there tells us something extraordinary. Jacob built something so solid that Jesus could use it centuries later. Jacob had no idea when he built the well that there'd be a woman that Jesus would talk to at the well that would change history, or that a conversation that would take place would be heard around the world, or that this would be the great moment that Jesus identifying himself as the Messiah would take place. But he dug a well deep enough and strong enough that God could use his work later on. And so here's the real question that I want us to wrestle with as a church and as individuals. How do you dig a well so deep in your life that it lasts for generations? That it lasts beyond you? You see, I like to think of the idea of legacy quite a bit, that it's not just about me, it's about those that will follow me. It's not just about you, it's about those that you will bless that you will never meet. When I die and go to my eternal reward, I do not want to have lived a life that left behind nothing. I want to leave behind a legacy of faith that can be followed. I want to leave behind children that love the Lord, their God, with all their heart, strength, their mind, and that they love their neighbors as themselves. I want to leave a financial inheritance for my children and my grandchildren so they may be blessed to be a blessing. I want to leave behind a ministry that can be handed off and benefit those in the future that will never even have an idea of what my name is. I want to build a well so deep and so strong that Jesus can use it to change a broken and vulnerable woman's life sometime in the future or even today. Digging deeper wells is important in our life. But to dig a well like that takes some time. You know, it just doesn't happen overnight. Ernesto's going to help explain this to us. So Ernesto, come on up if you would. Ernesto has an assignment today. His assignment is to get the water from this big bucket into these smaller buckets, about 10 gallons of water that needs to move over here. And so while I'm preaching, he's going to take the water from this bucket and dump it into this bucket. Seems reasonable, right? But I thought I would just make it a little bit harder and give him something easier or something smaller to do this with. But that's not quite small enough. I thought while we're having communion that maybe we could just use one of the communion cups to do that with. And so just all you got to do, Ernesto, is just move it just nice and steady, just slow and steady. All right, there we go. Just like that. Seems reasonable. You see that this can be done, right? This could be done. It might take until next week, but it can be done. It can be done. It takes time to dig a deep well in our lives. Jacob, just to be clear, this will really have to make sure you understand. I'm not talking about actual wells right now. I'm talking about the deep spiritual well that you need to dig in your life. After the first service, one of our friends said, Pastor Kurt, I have no idea what wells you were talking about. Jacob built a well that Jesus used and still exists to this day. Literally, 4,000 years later, you can go get a drink from that well today if you want. So what's the setup, though? What's the setup to this well-building skill that Jacob had? What does God have to do in his life, or what does God have to do in your life before he can build something through us? that he might use long after we're gone. Before Jacob could build anything significant in his life, he had to get certain things right. And the things he had to get right were relationships. He had to get relationships right. He had first to get his relationship with God right. We talked about that last week. Jacob and God wrestled all night long until God changed Jacob and made him Israel. Jacob couldn't change who he was. Only God could do that. And if you're trying to change yourself, you're going at it entirely wrong. Only God can change you. Genesis 32, Jacob named the place Peniel, which means the face of God, for he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared. He just honored that moment. But he got another relationship right as well. Right after he got right with God, he had an opportunity to get right with his family. Careful, don't leave yet. Just stay. His relationship with his brother Esau was restored. You see, Jacob had previously been a deceiver and stolen from Esau. Esau had every right to be mad at Jacob. Yet God gives Jacob an opportunity to make peace with his brother, and he takes it. He doesn't sidestep it. He takes the opportunity. He doesn't run. He has wrestled with God literally the night before, and now he must face his brother once and for all, and Jacob goes and he gives him a gift. And the encounter is found here. My brother, I have plenty, Esau answered. Keep what you have for yourself. But Jacob insisted, no, I have found favor with you. Please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It's like seeing the face of God. Please take this gift I have brought you, for God has been very gracious to me. I have more than enough. And because Jacob insisted, Esau finally accepted the gift. And this really signifies a moment of reconciliation, where Esau is no longer holding anything against Jacob. Jacob and his brother are now in right relationship. They have peace now. And this newfound peace with God and his brother, it turns out, were non-negotiable for God before real change could take place. This wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about the formation of a brand new man being rebuilt. His reconciliation gave him the opportunity to be rooted and established in life. In Genesis 33, it says, later, having traveled all the way from Paddan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan. There he set up camp outside the town. So this is after the reconciliations. Jacob bought the plot of land where he camped from the family of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And there he built an altar and named it. He bought land in Shechem. I want you to get this. He bought land in Shechem after his relationships were right. And this is where Jacob was going to spend the next 10 to 15 years of his life establishing himself, building roots, having a family. This is also where the famous Jacob's Well was dug that still exists today. If you're curious, you can literally go, fly over, and take a look. I want you to transport your thinking back 4,000 years to a time when water meant... How you doing over here? How you doing? You making any progress? I can't tell. A little bit of progress? Oh yeah, definitely half an inch of progress. Not a problem. Transport yourself back to when water meant survival. Like if you had no water, you had no life. No water, no livestock. No water, no crops. So digging a well in ancient times instead of being a nomad was a very significant act. It meant that Jacob was no longer running. He was no longer scheming, having another plan to hatch. He was no longer hiding. It means that he is establishing his life. And here he started being established and rooted after being made right with God, after being made right with his brother. This reconciliation allows Jacob to become rooted. And listen, friends, rooted people build differently than restless people. When you are rooted, you think different. God had made some promises to Jacob, and Jacob was preparing himself to see the fulfillment of those promises. I want you to notice this, watch this promise. Listen carefully as I read it. To the promises that God made to Jacob, even before Jacob was right with God. In Genesis 28, I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you. I'm giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. They will spread out in all directions, to the west and the east, the north and the south, and all families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. Not a light promise. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. What's more, I am with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. One day I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised you. Here's what happened. Jacob has promised land. Jacob has promised countless descendants. He's promised a global blessing, a God's presence. He's promised protection. He's promised a return to the land. And he has promised that God's faithfulness will complete what God has started. Amen. This is a hefty promise. It is not a light promise, and it would require one to be established in their life for generations. Just a simple nomad would not be able to embrace this. So Jacob built a well, something deep, something functional, something that would quietly serve people long after Jacob was gone. Remember, Jacob was thinking countless descendants might need some water also. Not just for him, but for them. These are the thoughts and actions of a man that has been changed by God. He's not just thinking about himself. He's thinking about others. He's thinking about the future. He's moved from selfish to selfless. No longer a fugitive. He's been forged and is being formed by God into a different kind of a man. He is setting aside his past. He's setting aside his chaos, and his life is now being established firmly. He owns his own land. He has a place to prosper. He's no longer just renting and running. Now he is an owner. He stopped wandering around, stopped rushing, and started establishing roots. And the first thing he did was he started digging a well. Because water is life. The first two steps to digging a deeper well in our lives spiritually, I want you to pay attention so you didn't miss it. The first was restoration. You got to be restored to God, restored to people. The second was building roots or establishing roots in your life. We don't have a biblical account of Jacob's well digging strategy. Ernesto, how you doing back here? You doing back here? Okay, so I think Ernesto needs a little bit of help here. So I'm gonna upgrade his cup right here. Here we go. Little, yeah, good. Got some. He's getting some better skill sets over here. Here we go. Slow down. Don't go so fast, Ernesto. He's cruising now. We don't have Jacob's well-digging design. We simply have two words that the Bible says that are connected to Jesus. It says literally, Jacob's well. It turns out wells were named after, back then, were named after the people that built them. Like Timmy's well or, whatever. So it was just, whoever built it, that's who it was named after. And building ancient wells was quite the endeavor. There were no construction equipment. There was no digging things. It was with your hands and a shovel and a pick. That was it. That's what you had to dig a well. There were, in ancient times, wells that were dug and built for speed that had what we'll call temporary purposes. These wells would only last a short time, and the walls would eventually fall in, and then they would have to be redug. But then there were a different kind of well, the wells that were built to last. And there weren't a ton of them because they took so long to build. The average ancient well might be, let's say, 30 or 40 feet deep. That was just the average one because they were built for survival and they were quick to build. Jacob's well was 135 feet deep. And it was not just for survival. Jacob was literally building infrastructure for generations. It would have taken years of labor to build this. It had a stone lining to prevent collapse. It involved skilled planning. What would happen is they would dig a big hole in the ground, and then they would line the edges of that hole with strategically placed stones that would keystone effect so they would stay in place. Then they would continue to dig deeper and then push the stones in. In order to dig deeper and deeper, it required a few things. It required a plan. It required an ever-increasing skill set. And it required a rhythm in their life. They had to keep coming back over and over and over again to do essentially the same thing, just at a deeper level. In the early days, it was probably easy. You just got to dig down a foot, and then 2 feet, then 3 feet. But when you're down to 35 feet, it's a little bit more complicated. It started getting harder. It's not lost on me that these are exactly the things that it takes to dig deeper wells in our life spiritually. You see, there are rhythms in our life that must be established. We have to have a plan. You see, growing spiritually or digging deeper spiritually in your life doesn't happen by accident. You will not wake up tomorrow and accidentally be more spiritually proficient. It won't happen that way. There is a plan. You need an ever-increasing skill set to wage the always present spiritual war that you will have. And you also need a rhythm where you do it over and over again. Think about this carefully. Building rhythms in your life to dig deeper wells. Deep wells are not dug in a burst of energy. They require daily labor, rest cycles, maintenance pauses, consistency through discouragement. You can't dig 135 feet on adrenaline. It's not going to get you there. You can't just sing a song another time and get your well dug. This is about formation, not hype, not urgency, not faith, but it's absolutely faithful rhythm. Some people want to treat God like Costco, where they go into Costco when they're hungry, they walk around, get some samples, and feel good, and then they leave. Friends, deep wells aren't built that way. You can't build deep wells spiritually on samples. Just sampling here, sampling there, sampling here. Deep wells aren't built on TikTok spirituality. Deep wells take real effort and intentional rhythms. And in our faith, it's not about how fast you go. It's about how far you go. It is the rhythms of your life that will determine your distance and your depth. Jesus was once teaching, and he told a story about a farmer that was planting some seeds. And as I read the story about this farmer, I pay attention to the speed and growth of the seeds. A farmer went out to plant some seeds, and he gathered them across his field. Some seeds fell on a footpath, and birds came and ate them. Like the person that thought, this is me now, not the Bible, like the person that thought, I should build a well, and then they never did it. Other seeds fell on the shallow soil with underlying rock. The seeds sprouted quickly because the soil was shallow, but the plants soon wilted under the hot sun, and since they didn't have deep roots, they died. That's the person that starts building their well. They see the point and the purpose of it, but things get hard, and they give up. Other seeds fell among the thorns and grew up and choked out the tender plant. Still other seeds fell on fertile soil, and they produced a crop that was 30, 60, even 100 times as much as had been planted. So the speed of the growth didn't matter. What mattered was getting rooted mattered. Getting in healthy soil mattered. Staying power mattered. Those rhythms that we get in our life are sometimes referred to as spiritual disciplines. But since no one likes the word disciplines, we're just calling them rhythms today. How do you build a well 135 feet deep? You dig it one shovel, one cup at a time. Over and over and over and over and over again. It's not negotiable. If you're going to dig down deeper, you just got to keep on digging. Keep digging. In the winter, you keep digging. Somebody say it. Keep digging. In the spring, and in the summer, and in the fall, and whatever other seasons there are, keep digging. And if you're going to dig deeper, lasting wells in your life, you've got to keep on digging, and you dig by having those rhythms or disciplines in your life. You know, you just got to keep on digging, and you just got to do it again. And then on Monday, do it again. And on Tuesday, do it again. And on Wednesday, do it again. You have a long life, and just keep on digging. You just keep on digging. And those wells get deeper over time. And the water eventually is disappearing. Very slowly. I think I'd like to speed it up a little bit there. All right, so you want to try that one now for a minute? Okay, so. All right, just do it quietly. All right, so rhythms like this, rhythms of the Word of God. What that means is having a unique commitment to engaging with the Bible to show us our path and to direct our steps. Let me land here for just a second. If you are disengaged from the Bible, quietly, Ernesto, quietly. So, if you are disengaged from the Bible, you have literally no idea what you should be doing. You have no idea what your path is. You have no idea what your steps are. You're literally just guessing. The Bible shows us our path and directs our step. That's why it's important. Prayer is another rhythm, regular communication with God, where we talk and listen and share and embrace. Prayer is just the relationship part with God. Then there is the spiritual rhythm of community. The unrelenting discipline, the commitment to push back against isolation in your life and to embrace others in community that are pursuing Christ. Why does this matter, particularly in 2026? In 2026, it matters because we have never been more isolated as a nation than now. We are completely isolated as individuals behind screens and doom scrolling and echo chambers. We're completely isolated. And it takes hard work to be in community. Because to be in community means that you have to take some time. You have to set aside some of your own likes and dislikes in order to listen and learn and care for other people that are different or might think differently than you or have a different background than you. Community is not easy. That's why we default to the relationships that are easiest. Community is hard work, but it is a spiritual discipline and takes us deeper. Service is another rhythm where you choose to embrace a life of servanthood to impact others for today and for generations to come. You will leave a mark. The more you serve, the deeper you dig. But these are all intertwined. If you serve without the word or prayer or community, you're struggling. But then there's stewardship. Stewardship is where we are creating financial habits and strategies that prioritize the kingdom of God and the righteousness of God. Where we're choosing the things of God first financially, not lastly. And it's a whole different way to live one's life. Ernesto, how's you? Oh, Ernesto, you're essentially done over here. Thank you, Ernesto. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, you got there. One cup at a time. One shovel at a time. Dig deeper. Dig deeper. Dig deeper. Have you noticed that with all this streaming that happens on our devices or on our televisions, when you're streaming something online, there's often this magic button that shows up and it says skip button. It's amazing. We love the skip button. So you just skip through those commercials or skip through the intro or skip through this stuff. Well, unfortunately, in our faith, we often want to press the skip button, like skip the process. But God doesn't form legacy people by skipping ahead. He does it through rhythm, word, prayer, community, service, stewardship. And the scriptures are loaded, and life is loaded with one warning after another of what the consequences are of people skipping the rhythms, of neglecting to dig deeper wells. You can't skip them because they are the very things that form us deeply. In our little object lesson up here on the stage, one tiny cup didn't seem all that impressive, yet over the course of time, it really added up. A little bit at a time. As the worship team comes up, as you are digging the wells in your life, don't give up. One shovel, one cup, one rhythm at a time. Every day, every decision, every challenge overcome, you are being formed. You are digging deeply. You are creating a future for you and for those that will follow. Would you stand with me as we close? Today, I'm aware that some of you want to build something in your life that lasts, but there are still places in your life that are not whole. Remember, Jacob didn't dig a well first. God dug him first. In Matthew chapter 11, Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." So if you are wrestling with identity or reconciliation or healing, this is a moment for you. Moment to wrestle with God, to be reconciled. Not because you are weak, but because you are ready to stop running. You're just ready. The worship team will close this and the altars are open. If there are some things you'd like to talk to God about, please do so.